Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cut to the Chase Sports Podcast, where we bring unique insight and analysis behind your favorite teams at the collegiate and professional levels. I'm your host, Chase Yance. Man, we're back at it with college football picks tonight. We got, our good friend Brady in studio. Brady, what's going on?
Oh, not too much. I'm just ready to go. Ready to get back to like the best segment of the week. We get all these great picks in, get all these previews of games, and just our thoughts. I'm just excited. Great episode coming up.
Most definitely. And then below, obviously, we have the infamous Matt Ricketts. And I think he gets to say, it's our favorite show of the week again.
It's my favorite show of the week. Like always, right here. Dude, I can't wait, man. We've been waiting for a long time for this to come back. Got a couple new segments this year, but we got the return of the infamous Matt Picks segment. I can't wait, where I give you guys the unique insight into the betting world against the spread this week for college picks. I can't wait.
Yep, you can just to give you guys a breakdown of the show before we get into it. We'll be previewing some of the games here for the next 20 to 25 minutes, and then around 8:45, I'll be bringing my new segment, More Bounce to the Younts, talking about stock up, stock down for college football. BK Broiling will be at 8:50, and we'll be talking about recruiting going on in the country, specifically about the Ohio State Buckeyes. And at 8:55, the return of Matt's Picks. We renewed it for season 2, so so we will get into that. If you guys are watching this video right now, like this video and subscribe to us on YouTube. We're trying to do our thing here and grow the channel, grow the page, grow the Cut to the Chase family, and just have a lot of fun talking football. But like said, it's time to talk some college football. And the first game on the docket for Saturday, it's a big one. Colorado and TCU. Deion Sanders makes his Buffalo's coaching debut and takes on, the defending national runner-up in TCU. That's Saturday at noon on Fox. Matt, what are your thoughts on this game?
Thoughts on it. It's just kind of exciting. I mean, all the hype around Prime, all the hype around, all those guys that – I think they lost something like 40 to 45 guys in the transfer portal. Like half the team is like completely different, like just completely different. So the overhaul, for Colorado is going to be crazy with his son being the quarterback. And then the number 1 overall recruit, Travis Hunter, from a couple years ago, followed him from Jackson State. So it's going to be interesting to see how good Colorado can be this year. I think their over-under win total is like 3.5. So they're not going to be expected to do a ton of great things this year, but I am excited to see, kind of how they're coming out. And the TCU, though, for sure, coming off the Cinderella run last year with Max Duggan and, Quentin Johnson and all the guys, can Sonny Dykes again find his way, back into the college football playoff, kind of race, if you will, I guess. So it's going to be interesting to see both of these teams because, to be honest with you, we don't really know a ton about either one coming in with all the guys that TCU lost. And they were one of the fastest teams in college football last year. So did Sonny Dykes keep the recruiting up at that end? The skill, the speed, to compete with maybe a Georgia this year on the field? I don't think so personally, but I guess we'll see. But for this game alone, in my opinion, I think TCU is probably just going to end up running away with it. It's kind of just, I'm guessing they're going to have a really fast-paced offense again. Same thing of that nature. I'm just hoping that that Colorado and Prime can keep it close in this one. But, just kind of my instinct, this is kind of my gut reaction, Brady. I'm leaning towards a TCU blowout, but hopefully not. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that TCU comes into this game as the favorite for sure, like not just Vegas-wise, but like in the national landscape of college football. Colorado's a year away, I would say, from doing any actual damage, or maybe a couple years even, with the new roster overhaul. I mean, there's you just can't predict the record. I don't assume them to be very good this year, but I also don't think TCU is going to be great. With last year making the Natty, kind of a fluke, clearly, based off that final score of 65-7. But, I definitely think TCU is still the better team.
Yeah, most definitely. And we're going to revisit this game later on at about around 9 o'clock when the voice of NBC's Big Ten Saturday Night, Noah Eagle, actually comes on the show, to talk to us and everything. So we'll see how everything goes with that. We're going to switch off here to our team, the Ohio State Buckeyes. So they're playing Indiana Saturday at 3:30 on CBS. Obviously there's been a lot of stuff going around with, the new quarterback with Ryan Day's announced that, Kyle McCord is the starting quarterback for the Ohio State Buckeyes for week 1. And he said that Devin Brown will play in this game as well. Brady, I'm going to get your initial thoughts on everything that's been going on with the quarterback decision. And then, a lot of media outlets have been, trying to discuss, maybe Devin Brown should have been the starter and other stuff like that. Not pointing any names, but just give me your whole thoughts.
So it's a really crazy situation with all the stuff that happened. Like everyone's saying, this guy's going to start, this guy's going to start. Definitely opposing views. In the end, the guy that was previously expected to win the job throughout this entire offseason really won for the first game. I'm not saying he's the starter for the whole year. Yep. Because it was clearly really close. Devin Brown's playing as well. So we're going to see close up. I still don't think we know the starter for Notre Dame, but it's very interesting to see Kyle pull out in front and finally get his chance to be the starting quarterback at Ohio State and it not be because the starter quarterback got hurt like in 2021. It's going to be crazy to see. And I think it's very intriguing. I really like Devin's athleticism. And if I'm going to be honest, I am a Devin Brown guy. I've been for the past year, I've been thinking that I've been having the expectation that Devin Brown might be our future, but I'm open to Kyle. I want Kyle to win the Heisman. I mean, if Kyle's going to start, Kyle's going to start. Just want to roll with it and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. When you're talking about a team naming a starting quarterback, man, I mean, obviously you could have your opinions either way about, maybe I wanted Devin Brown, maybe I wanted Kyle McCord. Obviously it's not, set in stone for the entire season. But I mean, heck, if the guy whoever walks out there for quarterback for your team, you want him to do good. You want him to win. So that's just obvious. That goes for all sports, unless, you're a twisted minded fellow. I don't know. But Matt, down below, just give me your whole thoughts and just kind of grasp of the quarterback situation at Ohio State.
Yeah, I thought it was crazy. Just kind of how there's got guys talking crap about one guy. And I mean, it's just a huge, I think it's crazy that we have fans that are talking down on one of the quarterbacks already without even really seeing him play. You know what I mean? On Twitter or X as we call it now. People tweeting about it like, oh, Kyle should be starting this, that, or the other. Like, dude, that's just why would we? You're not a fan if you don't want just because you thought Devin was going to start or whatever, and he's not starting. I don't think you're a true fan if you're really rooting for Kyle to fail just because you want to be right so bad. Like, that's just the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. Whoever plays for Ohio State, I want to be really, really good. So that's just kind of my take on it. I've also been a Devin Brown guy the whole time. I thought Devin was the better player. I do think that, just my opinion, I think we'll end up seeing him be the better player. But I don't know if it's going to be from that big of a gap to where Ryan will end up making that decision. I don't think we're going to be in trouble either way. I think we're going to be just fine. So we'll see, man. We'll see. Hopefully we have a, Alabama problem with Tua and Hurts and Mac Jones, all those guys they had. Hopefully we go out there.
It's a great problem.
Win a national championship with a bunch of good quarterbacks on our team.
Yep.
And I'll be shocked if whoever's our starting quarterback does not have the best numbers in the Big Ten. That's all.
I mean, that's the thing. Obviously, you got Ohio State quarterback, and then like Drew Aller, maybe, but that's the guys that you're looking at. Actually, Brady, you go to class with actually one of the Ohio State quarterbacks, don't you?
I do.
Lincoln Kineholz, isn't that right?
Yeah, I got economics.
Go to Heisman.
But yeah, I got economics with Mr. West Dakota Heisman, Lincoln Kineholz. Definitely think that in the future, he could be our guy at some point. Absolutely could be. Love the way he plays. He is unequivocally the most athletic player in that room. Devin's more athletic than Kyle, but there's more of a gap between Devin and Lincoln than there is between Kyle and Devin athleticism-wise. And that's just the facts. So yeah, that's about all I have to say about Lincoln.
Yeah.
Like, you probably won't see him much this game because I'm not even sure if he'd be the third quarterback to go in, just because they want to give the older, 7th-year senior Tristan Gebbia some respect. But Lincoln's certainly the more talented.
Most definitely. And we'll actually talk about the game in general. What is the outlook on Indiana coming in, to this game coming into week 1? They're obviously hosting us. It's a national television game on CBS. They've hosted us before on national television, and it's not gone their way. It's gone our way many, many times. But not that television has anything to do with it. But what should Indiana try to accomplish in the aspects of the game? Like, should they run the football well? Should they throw the football? Like, just where are they going to find a weakness in Ohio State?
They're not finding a weakness in our defense, which is good to say. I don't think there is one this year.
That's bold.
Their weakness offense to get us, they can stop our offense, not stop our offense, but they can slow down our offense by applying pressure to the quarterback, meaning while it being whether that's blitzing or just beating our inexperienced offensive tackles. But offensively, you throw the ball on us, your athletes, your wideouts are not beating our DBs. And if you run the ball on us, that's just nobody's running the ball on us this year, in my opinion. I don't think there's a team that could consistently move it down our throats. I'm really confident in this defense. I just don't think that Indiana has the person. Indiana is a transfer-filled team, all right? So they're going to be a different team than last year. We don't know exactly what they'll be. Sometimes they have good teams, sometimes not so much. It just depends. So we'll see what we get there. It is on the road. There's going to be a lot of people at the game for Indiana and for Ohio State. But yeah, I just don't see any weaknesses that they can personally exploit in our defense. They're just going to have to go out and run their offense and see what they can do. Maybe QB runs. QB runs have always been the death of us, our defense. If you can get an athletic QB.
Exactly. Matt, thoughts on Coach Tom Allen for Indiana?
I think he's on the hot seat. I think you'll probably not see him in Columbus next year. Or actually, I think we do play him next year. I can't remember. But anyways, the next time we play Indiana, I don't think you'll see Tom Allen on the sideline. I think he's in trouble. I think Indiana's just not – he's not going to have enough success this year to stay around for another season, I guess, is kind of how I see it. But overall, I guess he's been, okay. He's had the really good year in 2020, the COVID year, which was a COVID year. He had the really good year when they were – they came into the shoe and had a good team, and Sean Wade had that big pick in the game. But
you got really mad at Sean Wade and spilled your beer that game as well. I have the video. You did have the pick to pick 6, Jeez. But you also got really mad at him.
Yeah. So, what I was saying before. Yes, I did.
He's remembered that moment.
I'm remembering it now. Look at a video of me yelling and then going, "Oh no!" Yeah, I remember that.
We got to show some of these videos of Matt, obviously the ones that are appropriate, but
yeah.
No, let's show them all the inappropriate ones too.
See him on another side, shoot. But yeah,
oh boy.
But yeah, I mean, he's had some success, but nothing crazy. I mean, I don't think he's a very good coach. I'll just say it. I just think he's. I don't know. I just don't like him very much.
Now, fire a shot back at you again. One player for Ohio State that you're looking forward to watch, other than the quarterback. Or Marvin Harrison.
Travion Henderson. I want to see, everybody knows how I feel about him. I think he's highly been very underwhelming.
There you go. I'll give you a little preview.
Okay. I did not expect you to find it that easy.
He's been very underwhelming, especially last season. Now he was hurt, but part of being a really good football player is being available and being able to stay healthy. So if he can't do that, his 5-star superstar speed talent doesn't mean diddly squat. Okay, so I'm really, really looking to see him run and healthy. He's healthy. He's had a great camp. All reports are that he's had a great camp. Okay, he's looking good, looking like the 5-star guy that we thought was going to be like a Reggie Bush type of player as a freshman right away when he scored that touchdown against Minnesota. We threw the ball out of the backfield. So I'm really excited to see him run between the tackles, not just on the outside. Is he going to stick his nose in the dirt, get those 3-4 hard yards when he needs to do that?
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to see how Travion plays.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us are fighting, some coughs and some all that stuff, but bear with us. Brady, who's a guy other than the quarterback of Ohio State or Marvin Harrison Jr. that you're excited to see?
And the running back.
Yeah, so Matt was that was one of my picks, explosive, maybe the most explosive running back in college football when he's healthy. But my pick, I went back and forth between two guys. I'll just tell you the two guys I went back and forth: Carnell Tate and Sonny Styles.
Nice.
That sounds really similar to a Matt
It does sound
video
similar,
did,
but
I think I picked those guys for my spring game.
He did.
Yeah.
Carnell was probably the right pick.
Yep.
That game. He got the 40-yard touchdown. But I went with Sonny Styles. I'm so excited to watch.
Me too.
A 6'5", explosive nickel linebacker, whatever you want to call him, safe dude. He's everything. Like, he's the best player on the defense at his max, in my opinion. Like, when he gets to his ceiling in his Ohio State career, which is probably going to be next year, he's going to be the best safety in college football, the best athlete in college football, like whatever you want to call it. I cannot wait to watch him play football. Like, it's going to be awesome.
Yep. I'll tell you that. I cannot wait to watch this.
I just can't wait to watch him run around. I just can't wait to watch him run around.
Exactly.
Just like cover space.
It's going to be freaking great to be with my best friends, sit down, and watching the Buckeyes beat somebody's ass. It's going to be awesome.
Felt like it was yesterday, man. I really felt like it was yesterday we were doing that. But, I'm excited for Saturday at 3:30, man. I mean, we're all going to be down in the basement, Brady's basement, piled in there, watching some good old Ohio State football, trying to get an ass whooping on Indiana. Move on to the next game. West Virginia, Penn State, 7:30 on NBC. Noah Eagle will be on the call. He'll be on here in a little bit. Brady, initial thoughts on this game?
Yeah, so this is an interesting game for me. You got a decent program versus a great program, but still an intriguing matchup. Power 5, two Power 5 teams. The story of this game is Drew Aller. All right, Drew Aller will start for Penn State. I don't care that James Franklin's refusing to name it. He's the guaranteed starter. He's been the starter since the end of last year. I'm very excited to watch. It's pretty clear that he has a special arm, but we haven't seen him in game, like, show that arm off and see if he, is a smart player, if he can read defenses, if he's accurate in game. You got to see all that stuff. Now, should he be when he was the number one quarterback in America? Absolutely. So I'm excited to see that. This new revamped Penn State team, the Big Ten bus tour went on to Penn State and said that was the best. They go every year to watch a practice. They said it's the best Penn State team they've ever seen.
Wow.
So that's some high praise. They're talking about over 2017. They were there when Saquon was there.
Man.
So I'm ready to see that squad. And then for West Virginia, it's gonna be interesting. They always have a solid offense. Not the Will Guerrero days anymore, but they have their quarterback. I don't know who's starting for them. I haven't seen it.
I will say this: Will Greer is on the Bengals practice squad, but continue.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did see that. But
I
think their quarterback's gonna be Garrett Green. I don't know much about him. He probably isn't very good, if I had to guess. They have a very good left tackle, Wyatt Millam, who I saw at Kings Island this summer, riding Diamondback.
Dude, what is it about? Like, we were at Kings Island. Remember, like, what is it about seeing offensive linemen?
Linemen. We saw the Ball State O-line, the entire 5. They were just walking in like a line of 5. It was hilarious.
That was insane. Like, I don't know what it is about seeing offensive linemen at like amusement parks and stuff. It was really weird this summer, but yeah. Matt, drop a few cents in the bucket here. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm excited for this one. I really am. I think you look at these night games we got on Saturday night. They're both. I mean, they're going to be good. I mean, we got some good games to watch. Nobody's. It's not like a crazy huge ranked matchup here, but I am excited to watch Drew Aller, a guy that you guys know I'm very, very high on. I think he's going to be really, really good. Now we'll see, but that's just kind of my initial take on it. I think he's going to be really good. I'm excited to watch the entire Penn State offense. The receivers, how good these running backs have developed into being the great offensive linemen they have. The guys like that. Like, I'm just excited to watch Penn State play. I don't know if West Virginia is going to be very good, like Brady said. I don't know, but I mean, whatever. It's still a Power 5 matchup. It's at night in Happy Valley. Like, it's going to be great to watch.
Yep, there's a great assortment of night games we'll be able to watch. And the other night game, if you guys are into quarterbacks, like a lot of us are, North Carolina and South Carolina, man. They got an exciting matchup there, and neutral site game in Charlotte. You got Drake May taking on Spencer Rattler. Obviously Drake May, one of the top 2 quarterbacks in college football. I think everybody can agree on that. And then, Spencer Rattler, not well liked by a lot of people. And, but I'll save my thoughts for that, a little later. But Matt, give us your couple cents on North Carolina and South Carolina.
Carolinas here. Battle of the Carolinas. I think it's like I said, these night games are freaking great. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. You got the Cox and the Tar Heels playing. Yep. I think with Drake May and the high-powered offense for North Carolina, Mac Brown, I think it's going to be a freaking great game. You got South Carolina now coming off a pretty good year. They got some momentum. Them and Shane Beamer, their head coach of South Carolina, Spencer Rattler, they've got some momentum now that moving in the right direction. They had a good season last year. They beat Tennessee with Hendon Hooker, towards the end of the year. So we'll see, if they can keep that rolling, propelling in the SEC East, which, I mean, other than the two teams in the East, it's not a great division. You know what I mean? So South Carolina has a chance to have a good year. But in this game, I just see a lot of points. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know too much about either one of their defenses at this point in time. But I just think you're going to see a freaking shootout in this game. I'd take the over if I was anybody watching it. Brady, what do you think, Brady?
Yeah, so I'm with you there. Like, it's an intriguing matchup. I don't love either of these teams personally, but in terms of like the storyline and like the entertainment, it's definitely an entertaining game. Like, if we'll probably have two TVs running with the two games, so we're definitely going to peep this game. The only thing I know about South Carolina's defense is they just got the freakiest athlete I've ever seen. Nicholas Harbor ran a 10.28 in the 100-meter as a defensive end. It was the fastest ever for his age and like his weight or whatever. So absolute freak at the end. Landed him over Michigan actually. So it's pretty funny. But anyways, like this game will be fun. You got, to me, the best thrower of the football in all of college football plays for the Tar Heels. It's going to be awesome to watch him again. And then Spencer Rattler, he definitely he's got arm talent. He does. He can flick it nicely. Decent accuracy at times. He's inconsistent, but he's really not a bad quarterback.
He's not
a solid quarterback.
Dude, I'm telling you, the Cox are moving in the right direction. Like they got some momentum, not just at the quarterback and the coach. Like their whole program, they're moving in the right direction now. It's in the SEC.
Yep.
Can the Cox keep it rolling? We'll see. I'm excited to watch it.
It's a tough conference to play in, man. But I mean, we'll see what happens and see if Spencer Rattler can keep developing in that offense and obviously take mold and see where it goes. But the best game of the weekend, other than obviously our Ohio State game, for our fandom, the best game of the weekend is a Sunday night football game. It's not on NBC. It's not the NFL. Go on ahead with that if you want. That's next week. I'm really excited for that. I'm excited for this one too. LSU is taking on Florida State Sunday night at 7:30 on ABC. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit will be on the call. That's down, I believe, at Camping World Stadium in Orlando, Florida. So Brady, you have two quarterbacks in this game. You got Jordan Travis from Florida State. You got Jaden Daniels from LSU. Both of these guys are trying to build off of pretty good seasons from last year. Who do you think? Obviously, I'll ask that question in a little bit, but just what impressed you most about these two quarterbacks?
I just feel like it's their ability to like take over games. Like they're not just like they don't just sit back there to look pretty. Like if they need to run, they run. Both of these guys. Jaden Daniels played amazing against Alabama. Not just like throwing the ball, but like he had that touchdown in overtime where he kept the ball and was just like running through arm tackles down the field, scored a touchdown, and then he threw the game-winning 2-point conversion. I just really love the grit. Then Jordan Travis, against LSU last year looked good at the end of the game. And just in general, the whole year. And in my opinion, Florida State's receiving duo is insane. Like they have an argument that that's the second best receiving duo in college football. Now there's a lot of good receiving duos this year. There's like 4 really good ones. I think Florida State has an argument with Johnny Wilson, the 6'7" receiver, absolutely massive. And then Keon Coleman's also big, transfer from Michigan State. He was a stud for Michigan State, like making plays. He was their best player on offense last year. So that receiving duo is insane. So Jordan Travis has the weapons, and LSU, Malik Neighbors, very, very good route runner. I love Malik Neighbors. I think personally he might be – I like him better than both of the Florida State receivers. I think he's a first-round pick. So I think this is a really good matchup receiver-wise, actually, and quarterback-wise. So some fun offenses to watch.
All right, now coaches matchup. Matt, you got Mike Norvell and Brian Kelly. What's the thoughts on Brian Kelly in his first year last year at LSU? What'd you think? What'd you think?
Unbelievable. I mean, I've always thought Brian Kelly was a really good coach. I didn't think he was. I would say he was always, to me, always on the kind of the borderline top 5 guy. I think last year he solidified himself top 5 coach in America. To come into now LSU had some talent there. It wasn't like it was an empty cupboard, I guess, as you will. But it was. Yeah. I mean, to come in and turn a program around that quick and win what a lot of people now, in my opinion, I don't think so, but a lot of people believe is or has been over the past decade or so is the best division in the sport, the SEC West. To come in the SEC West and to win that division against the greatest coach of all time, I mean, that was huge. Great job by Brian Kelly of kind of getting the program turned around a little bit. Now, you got to do it more. I mean, you got to keep showing continuous success. So we'll see if he's able to do that this year. He's got a tough schedule again, so we'll see. But I love Brian Kelly as a football coach. I think he's one of the top 5 in America. Mike Norvell, I think he's done a great job of Florida State so far too. I mean, you got a Florida State team to 10 wins. Now, like I've said before, I don't think it was necessarily your traditional 10-win team from Florida State. I think they played a really crappy schedule and had some lucky bounces of whatever. But regardless, it was 10 wins in college football. And for Mike Norvell, he's had some great success in Memphis as well. So I think they both are great coaches, are really good coaches moving in the right direction for the program. And I'm really excited for this game, guys. I mean, I kind of wish it was a Saturday night game because I'm going to be recovering Sunday. But we don't have to – it's a long weekend. We don't have to work Monday. Don't you worry, boys. This is going to be on my TV set on Sunday night.
Are you coming down to our households on Sunday night?
I might be.
There you go.
This is the Sunday night football in America. I might still be playing the music, even though it's college football.
I am all right with that. I'm cool with that. I'm cool. It's a big game. It's a big game, man. You always got to play a big game. So there you go, man. But, really excited to see that LSU-Florida State matchup. We'll talk about that and pick that here in a little bit. But we're going to kind of move on to some new segments that'll be going on in this part. More bounce to the younce, man. So gotta give credit to my guy Joshua Zan for coming up with that name. It wasn't even he just was calling me that at Earlham and stuff, but I was just like, hey, you know what, this actually could be like a funny name for a segment. But I'll give myself the solo layout here real quick. So in this, I'm gonna do a lot of stock up and stock down. And this week it's gonna be early season success. And what I think is going to happen is this. I'm going to have 2 teams that I'm going to stock up, and I'm going to have 2 teams I'm going to stock down. Obviously, this could change. There's so many different categories that, we could be doing and all that. So, we'll see how everything goes. The first team that I'm going to stock up with early season success is Nebraska. They play tomorrow night against Minnesota, on Thursday night on Fox. If they go in there and they get a big win with Matt Rule as their head coach in his first game, that would be huge. They go on the road again to Colorado to take on Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes next Saturday, big noon kickoff on Fox. Like I said earlier, Colorado isn't probably going to be that good of a team, but we don't know about Nebraska either. But if Nebraska is able to go on the road and win 2 games to start the season against, opponents that I'm not going to say favored against, but, they could match up well against them, then, that looks really good for them. And they play Northern Illinois and Louisiana Tech, both their home games are round out September. And then they got Michigan coming in to Lincoln. So, I think at least going into the Michigan game, I think Nebraska, it's going to look, pretty good for them. When we're talking about a team to stock down, Auburn. I don't know what's going on with Auburn right now. I believe they got a new head coach and everything. A lot of weird stuff's been going on with them over the last couple of years. So, I mean, their schedule doesn't really isn't really, favorable or anything like that. If you look at it, they start off the season against UMass. That's a really, really easy game. And then they go out west to California. California's not that good, but I mean, still out west, weird things can happen out there for, a team not from the West Coast. They play Sanford, and then they go to, College Station to play Texas A&M September 23rd. So obviously they're going to get a road test against the ranked team, and then they welcome in the number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs. And obviously playing a Georgia Bulldogs is a rough test, every single time. So, not looking too great for them, for a season outlook to start it off. But then we look at Texas Tech. I remember Brady was talking about Texas Tech, being a veteran team. I'm going to stock them up. I think they do have a favorable schedule. I know they play Oregon, week 2, so that'll, be an interesting game to watch. But I mean, they do welcome Oregon into their house. They could get them, catch them off guard and everything. They play Wyoming on the road. They play Oregon at home. And they play Tarleton State, and then they play West Virginia on the road, and then Houston at home. So their September, they play some pretty notable teams, but, with a veteran roster that Texas Tech has, anything's possible, and they could go into any place and win. The last team right now, their stock is down for this game. It's Utah. They play tomorrow against Florida. Cam Rising is not starting in that game, so it'll be really interesting to see what goes on. I think, Utah might have enough to win that game, but I mean, when you're starting, signal callers down, they've won the, Pac-12 back-to-back years, it could throw a wrench into it. They play next week at Baylor, a noon game on ESPN, and then Weber State, and then they play at home against UCLA, and then they go to a Friday night game at Oregon State. So they do have some tough matchups going on, in the month of September. And, obviously if you don't have their starting quarterback when you get into conference play, I don't know how long he's going to be out, but if that's the case, things might not be looking good for Utah. And I'll pass it over to Brady for BK Broiling.
Coming up. That was a hell of a segment, Chase. Good job.
Thank you. Brady, floor is yours.
All right. So first, so the name is not sustainable. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it or not. It's just for now, like the name of this segment. We're going to be talking about recruiting here. So first off, I'm going to talk about Ohio State recruiting. Obviously, I'm more intact with that. So this is an Ohio State segment. First, I want to start off with recruits right now that are on our radar for this season that are still likely to commit and join this class. The class is almost finished. Picked up a commitment from Edric Houston, 5-star defensive end, extreme athlete out of Buford, Georgia, right out of Georgia's home state, battling with Georgia, Alabama. We beat them both. Larry Johnson comes up with the win, Edric Houston. Huge commitment. And also, since I've talked about this, we landed Aaron Scott Jr. out of Springfield. Big commitment over Michigan. Definitely good to see. But right now, we're going after Dominic McKinley out of Texas, and he's a 5-star defensive end. It would be our second 5-star defensive end in this class. And Brandon Baker, the number 1 offensive tackle in the country out of Mater Dei High School in California. In my opinion, the most important recruit left in this class. I've been hearing that they're both down between Texas and Ohio State. So it's going to be a battle with the Longhorns for both of them. I'd love to land at least one. Baker would be my preference. I would definitely love to see McKinley as well. He's committing here soon. He said he's made up his decision. It will surprise people, and we're on his final list. So it makes sense if you want to play with Larry Johnson, but I have heard that his family cares about distance. So from Texas, it's going to be hard to see what's up with that. In other news, on Friday, I went to the Coldwater versus Bellefontaine high school football game in Ohio. A big, small school in Coldwater, like a really good, historically dominant small school versus a medium-sized school in Bellefontaine that is very on the national radar right now, only due to the fact that they have the number 3 quarterback in the class of 2025, Ohio State commit Tavian St. Clair. Went to go watch him. That was the reason I was at the game, and it did not disappoint. I would say that he might have the best arm talent in Ohio out of any quarterback in the state in any class right now. He was extremely accurate. None of his balls really hit the ground unless it was a drop from the receiver. But the receivers played well too. I mean, he had a lot of deep shots that were just like one of his throws from the 50-yard line. He didn't even put much on it. He kind of flicked his wrist. He threw it to the end zone for a touchdown, and it was good coverage too. It was just led him perfectly. And then he had one on the left, rolling to his left, throwing 40 yards, but very good. So we got a good one in Tavian. Played against him twice myself, so I've seen it firsthand. And he's definitely a really talented player. Excited to have him in the group. And also, on my final note is right now, I believe Ohio State still has the highest average commitment, like highest average grade per commitment out of any team in the 2024 cycle. So Ohio State right now has arguably the best class in the country per recruit. So if we can keep that up, land Brandon Baker and maybe Dominic McKinley, we should be able to steal with that. And I think this is just an amazing class, especially offensively, and a good defensive class as well. With Aaron Noland, quarterback. We got 3 running back commits, and then the best player in high school football, I don't think is particularly close, in Jeremiah Smith. So hopefully he stays committed.
All right, there we go. BK Brolin right there, and then we'll go to Matt's picks, and we'll get Noah on here in just a minute. Matt, give us a couple of your picks.
Wow, that was a great segment, Brady. Good job. All right,
Thanks.
So Matt's picks. Here we go, boys. All right, new season. We're going live. We're going to keep a running total here. So each week we're going to have our records down there. Okay, I got 3 games for you this week. 3 games that I like that I'm going to take. Okay, starting tomorrow night, Nebraska at Minnesota. You got the Cornhuskers +7. I like taking the Huskers +7 this week. Matt Rule and Jeff Sims, I think, are going to come out and have a great opening game, great debut. Okay, I think they ended up pulling away late in that game and ended up winning the game. I might even try to take them out right on the money line. I'm not sure yet, but we're just for against the spread purposes. Okay, we're going Nebraska +7 against the spread against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Okay, the next game I like, not really a whole lot of deliberating in this one. Michigan -36 against East Carolina. I just think East Carolina sucks. So I think Michigan is going to absolutely crush East Carolina. I'm going to bet the Wolverines as well, as much as it pains me to bet them. Still going to bet them. And, okay, the last game, one of my favorite games of the week, Penn State -20.5. This is my bet of the week right here, okay? If I had to pick one, I'm picking this one. Penn State -20.5. I like Penn State at night coming out and trying to set a huge tone, sending a message to the country. You know, we're back. We're on the radar. We're going to be a really good team this year. I think West Virginia sucks. I think they're going to end up not being very good at all. It's going to be a night game in Happy Valley. Drew Hours first start. I like Penn State to cover -20.5. There's your match
right.
pick this week. Penn
Cool
State
stuff.
-20.5. Michigan -36. Nebraska +7. That's a Big Ten week right there for you, boys.
I like the Penn State pick a lot.
And just to add to that, we got the announcer for the game against West Virginia.
Oh, there he is.
Noah Eagle on the show, man. Noah, you love wearing hats on the show, and obviously, you went over to to Ireland, man. So just tell us about your experience over there in the hat.
Yeah, well, first of all, guys, I really hope your pick is incorrect because I'm going to need a close game. I'm going to need if Penn State is covering 20.5 and deep in storylines, which is fine. Todd and I are going to be happy because we got a lot of storylines to get to for what should be a fantastic season for the Nittany Lions. But Dublin was amazing. Ireland, the energy there, the passion was really impressive, really unexpected for me. I got the assignment late, so to turn around and get there and feel that was really helpful. But Notre Dame looked really good. I think that's what stood out more than anything else. Sam Hartman makes a legitimate difference, and that's a team that if they can't get to the college football playoff, it's going to be damn close in doing so.
Yep. I agree. I thought Sam Hartman was I don't want to speak too early, but it wouldn't shock me if he's their best quarterback in a decade. Like, he's that type of player.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are saying since Brady Quinn, since Jimmy Clausen, but look, they've had some good guys under center. Ian Book was great for them for 2 years, and they've had others who have had talent, but I'm not sure they have anybody who's had the experience, the snaps that he's taken, the high level football that he's played in big time environments, and then to pair him with the offensive line they have in the running backs room that we already saw in week 0 is really impressive.
Yeah, exactly. 6 passing touchdowns against Clemson last year. You just knew at that point when he entered the portal that – I mean, he said Bama offered him, which makes sense. Like, I was shocked that he didn't end up somewhere like Bama. Even though Notre Dame's a great program, they're not known for their passing game necessarily, whereas, Alabama, who I don't know. I guess they're not at their receiver level as they used to be, a few years back. But it was definitely fun to watch. I'll be honest. It was really fun to watch Sam Hartman.
Yeah, I look. The other thing that I think for him he wanted to do was he wanted to go to an offense that had a little bit more of an NFL feel to it. He was playing in a system in Wake Forest where a lot of people, I think, were questioning whether it was the system or it was Sam Hartman, that slow mesh read option type that he was playing. And he was great in it. He had mastered it by the time he was done in Winston-Salem. But for him now, he's in more of a pro-style offense. He's under center every now and then. He's got great running backs. He's got an outstanding, maybe the best left tackle in all of college football in Joe Alt. And when you've got that type of protection and you can read defenses the way that he can, and you got to know, the difference of, look, if you go to an Alabama, you're going to play a gauntlet of an SEC schedule. But what I like about Notre Dame is that obviously as an independent, they get to choose who they're going to play each year. And so this year you've got Ohio State at home, which is key. It's a chance for them to be in South Bend and take on one of the most talented teams in the country. You've got USC on the schedule and Clemson all on the schedule. And, oh, by the way, the second to last week of the year, you go and play Wake Forest. You host Wake Forest, but play your old school. So I do like that from Sam Hartman, that he gets to play a bunch of different conferences. So it's not like he's just stuck to whatever the style of an SEC or a Big 10 or a Big 12. He gets to kind of get a different feel in each of them, which is cool.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So far, it's played out great for him. Just one game in. He last year, I remember Notre Dame really struggled with receiver production, and in that first game, they had 3 different receivers score. One scored twice, and no tight ends even targeted the whole game.
That'll change. Look at that. That's tight end you. They've had since. Think about this. Ever since Anthony Fasano. Think about how far back.
That's a way back. That's a
way back.
Every starting tight end since him has been drafted in the NFL from Notre Dame. So they plug them out. They've got guys that are going to eventually find themselves there. But it was a good sign, I think, for them to get someone like a Jaden Greathouse that to really contribute right away and score those 2 touchdowns.
Most definitely. That's a big thing there. But I want to ask, this is the first week for Big Ten Saturday night on NBC. Let's talk a little bit about the West Virginia and Penn State game that's going on. What's your week looked like up to this point, and what is it going to look like up to kickoff? Just the whole process.
Yeah, it was obviously a little different and strange for me this week coming back from Ireland, and that was a game I didn't know I was going to have until 5 days before the game. And so to go get across the pond, try to adjust to the time there. By the time you adjust, you're now flying back and taking essentially what's a red eye back. And so I think the first couple of days of this week has been trying to readjust while preparing. And so I made sure I was familiar. The good news for me was that I had West Virginia twice last year and Penn State their last game of the regular season against Michigan State. So I was familiar with a lot of the storylines of what I was going to be talking about just because I was familiar with both teams. Neil Brown's still there as the head man at West Virginia. This is somewhat of a make or break year for him, but I know him because I saw him back-to-back weeks last year, and I got to feel the team and what they're all about, and they might have a new offensive coordinator, but defensively they're going to be very similar, and some of the weapons might be different, but the offensive line's exactly the same and one of the stronger units in all of college football. TJ Donaldson's a really good running back, so they've got guys still, and so it'll be interesting to see how they shift post JT Daniels, post Graham Harrell as their offensive coordinator. But for me, it was really just immersing myself in a lot of the offseason storylines for them. What is their quarterback situation going to look like? And that's kind of what I've done these last few days and familiarize myself in what is the expected depth chart, get a chart going of kind of what I want information-wise on each guy. Same deal with Penn State. We kind of know the big storylines. It starts with Drew Aller, as you guys had mentioned. I just think that they're going to go as far as he's willing to take them this year. And so that's the biggest storyline. And the secondary goes with it is a lot of people are asking, is this James Franklin's best team? James Franklin, this is his 10th season as the head coach at Penn State, which is crazy.
Time flies, man.
It really does. Really, really, because it feels like yesterday he was just starting. And people are saying, wow, maybe Penn State's back. They're back. I mean, he's had 4 11-win seasons in 9 years. And this year looks like it is almost guaranteed to be another double-digit win season. The question becomes, can they beat an Ohio State or Michigan? And if Ohio State was ever going to be vulnerable, just based on the quarterback situation, this could be the year. The problem is when you've got those receivers, those running backs, those the defensive top-end talent, they're still incredible. They are still so talented. And so I think the Big Ten's going to be fun overall. But that's kind of – it's really been background for me up to this point. And now, starting tomorrow, we'll meet with West Virginia and their coaches and some players. We'll meet with Penn State on Friday. And that's when I start to really collect all the different notes and all the different articles and podcasts and everything that I've kind of done over the course of the week. And then Friday night, you try to condense it as best you can so that Saturday comes and you're ready to really regurgitate all the information.
And think about this. Yep. I mean, everything is leading up to you going into a potentially sellout Beaver Stadium on Saturday night. How exciting is that?
It's hard to put into words, honestly. Everybody keeps saying, oh my God, how excited are you to start? I mean, I can't fully describe it until I think I get there. I think once I'm in it, because like I said, I did their last game last year, but it was over Thanksgiving weekend. So the students weren't really there. It was still a good crowd, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't what we're going to see and feel on Saturday night. I think it's going to be off the charts. It's going to be what college football is all about and what makes us love the sport. And so to be there for that, to be there for their opener and feel that energy, that enthusiasm, and that anticipation for what should be one of the more successful years in the modern history of the program, I think that's going to be just unbelievable, something that I'll hopefully keep with me forever.
Most
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And your first time calling a night game, and arguably the best night atmosphere in college football. Like, I think it's personally, I would take Penn State night atmosphere over any other. It's crazy. Like there's viral videos going around of, they played Michigan in 19 and Shea Patterson couldn't hear the play calls. They had to call a timeout before the game started.
With Mo Bamba just going.
Yeah.
I remember it well. That was they had to call a timeout right before the first snap.
Yeah.
I hope we get something like that, and the cool thing for us is that we get to capture it. And hopefully, best thing I feel like from a broadcasting perspective with that type of stuff, you go back and watch that is if there's no speaking, I'm just going to try to let the environment speak for itself. And then when the time comes, we'll be there to provide the captions.
Most definitely.
Absolutely.
And I'll ask this before we get into, the games and all. We're not going to ask you to, pick this game, obviously, but, you're working with a new crew, Todd Blackledge, Catherine Tappan, a bunch of producers, directors, a bunch of behind the scenes people that, cannot, go unnoticed. But just what excites you about working with, a guy like Todd Blackledge, who's been, announcing for many, many years and, played quarterback in college. And then, Catherine Tappan being on the sideline for NBC and has, been there for a while.
Yeah, two absolutely elite teammates to have. I think I'm so fortunate because it really, all I have to do is be the perfect point guard and make sure they get their due touches, And so for Todd, you mentioned he's been doing it at such a high level for such a long time now. He is an encyclopedia of college football knowledge. Everything that I could possibly question, he will have an answer for. And so to know that I have someone like that next to me, that's invaluable for me. It's invaluable even just leading up as we get ready to say, hey, what do you see about this? What do you think about this? And it doesn't have to be just our game or just our conference, but anything in college football. We just recorded a podcast yesterday, and it's incredible. His knowledge, just the vast amount that he possesses, it's off the charts. And for Catherine, I think she's one of the best in the business herself on the sideline. She's really sharp. She's really passionate. When we just got started at Big Ten Media Days and the three of us were together for the first time about a month ago, we were talking and she was like, how excited are you? I'm like, oh, I can't wait. And she goes, I can't tell you how excited I am. College football, I missed it so much because she hasn't really done it the last couple of years. And she said, it might be my favorite thing to do. It might be my favorite sport. I just love the stories. I love the kids. I love the coach. She is bouncing off the wall. So when you can feel that from someone that you're working with, that only kind of permeates through the rest of the team. And you mentioned producers, directors, Matt Marvin and Charlie Dammeier, and go down the list of how much brain trust and how much willpower, manpower, woman power has gone into just making sure that this goes off smoothly and goes off to really, I would say, play up what is the Big Ten Conference. I think it's going to be really special.
Man, I mean, you couldn't describe it any better. We're so excited to watch that game at 7:30 on NBC. We'll get Brady and Matt's pick here. Obviously, we can't get Noah's, but we'll get Brady and Matt's pick. Brady, what do you think is going to happen in this game Saturday?
Well, I mean, we already discussed Matt's spread covering. I mean, come on now. I think Penn State's going to win. I've been high on them all season. I think this is one of their most talented teams, like I said, since James Franklin's been there. Mm-hmm. There's questions, but there's not many. I think the receiving core is a small question. They have guys, but It's not like a top 5 receiving core in the nation or anything like that. But they've got guys, so we'll see how Drew Aller can play there. But overall, I mean, come on, their defense. They have the best secondary in college football. Kalen King, to me, is maybe the best corner in college football. Johnny Dixon, same name as the old Buckeye receiver, a very good corner. And then their safeties too. They were very productive last year in man coverage, which is like what they like to run a lot. Yeah. And then their defense. I mean, was Abdul Carter? I couldn't think of his name. The linebacker, absolute stud. Yep. All those guys. Danny Dennis Sutton, Chop Robinson, just a great team. Penn State wins by. I'll give you a score. I forgot we did scores on these. We'll go 45-17.
All right, we'll go 45-17 for Brady. Matt, you already said they're gonna cover. So I mean, you want to give a score?
Penn State 45-10 in this game. I just think they're gonna dominate, man. I think it's gonna be great to watch in the first half. Happy Valley going crazy. West Virginia keeps it a little close in the first quarter, but then Penn State will end up pulling away.
All right, I'll split the difference somewhat and go 45-14. I guess the magic number is going to be 45 for the panel. So, we'll see what happens there. Very excited for that game. Colorado TCU. Obviously, we're going to go around and get our picks here. No, if you want to pick, that's fine. If not, we understand. What are your storyline thoughts about, TCU coming off the Natty and then Colorado getting prime?
I mean, I think you pretty much hit it. TCU obviously lost a lot of talent, but they had a lot of depth last year. And Sonny Dykes runs a really tight ship. His culture, you always hear that buzzword around really every program, but I think he embodies what it means to really instill a culture. And even having done the Chargers preseason, talking to the 3 guys, Max Duggan, Quentin Johnson, and Darius Davis, who were on that team last year, that's what stood out to them, was that it wasn't really a one-hit wonder. This is something that has staying power. Not to say they're going to get all the way to the national championship again, but certainly something that it built a nucleus for kind of future generations of TCU Horned Frogs. Now, with that being said, I love the Coach Prime storyline. I'm really curious, just not even just this game, but overall this season. I think it's a record number of transfers. I don't remember the exact figure, but I know it's the most ever, especially in the transfer portal era. Which is not shocking when he came in that first meeting and said he's bringing his luggage with him, and it's Louis, and he basically said, "Get out of here if you're not that." But I'm really excited because I think it's just good for the sport to have a polarizing figure like that, to have someone who's going to draw eyeballs, and someone who has gotten results in the past. I know it wasn't at maybe this high of a level, but he can clearly recruit, he can clearly get top-end talent, and he can clearly recognize who deserves to be out there on the field at what points of the game. So I'm not saying that I'm picking a Colorado upset, but I definitely am going to be glued to this game just because I think there's a lot of intrigue based on the rest of the season and how both teams shake out.
Most definitely. What a game to start off at noon, to start the entire college football slate for week 1 on Saturday. Brady, give me your pick here.
All right, so I'm going with TCU. Colorado is still improving. There would be no justification for me picking them. TCU's offense should roll against a brand new defense with so many transfers and so many unknowns. And I've seen some clips of some of their DBs. They look like high school players that, are seniors and are finally getting their chance to start type of thing. So I'm going to go with TCU. I think they're going to put up 38-14. It's going to not be too close to the game.
Okay. Matt, is it going to be closer than that, or what do you think?
It is going to be closer than that. I'm going to take the Horned Frogs 31-20. I think Colorado has a decent, start. Keeps it close. I think the energy and the culture of the Prime is kind of setting right now. It's going to keep a lot of their games close, even though, they've had such huge roster turnover, such an overhaul from the transfer portal. So I'm going to take the Horned Frogs.
Yeah. Is Colorado's win total this year 3.5? Is that correct?
It's 3.5. Yeah.
3.5. So that to me is actually, because you go through their schedule, it's difficult to find 4 guaranteed wins. Yeah. So that to me is the best storyline of the season for Colorado, because Coach Prime isn't going to stand for a non-bowl season. He's not going to be thrilled with a non-bowl season. No. He wants minimum 6 wins this year. And they have the top-end talent on the roster. It's just a matter of whether or not they can fill enough of it. And I think that's kind of what you guys hit on.
Most definitely agree with that. And, for my pick, I'll say TCU as well. I'm going to go on ahead and say 37-23. I think it'll be a 14-point game. And I think, TCU will get out in front. Colorado will play a little catch up, but it'll be interesting. But I think overall TCU, will win by 2 scores. We'll go to our game, Ohio State and Indiana, Saturday, 3:30 on CBS. We were talking about it earlier with the quarterback. Kyle McCord's the starter. Devin Brown will play a little bit. Marvin Harrison Jr. is really good at football. Emeka Egbuka is also really good at football. Noah, give us some of your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, let's not even forget about those 2 running backs coming out of the backfield too.
Yeah.
So what's interesting about this, look, I don't think there's a question as to whether or not Ohio State wins. It's really about how convincing are they going to be and how are they going to look? What's that form going to look like with a new quarterback post C.J. Stroud? The thing with Ryan Day is he hasn't really had quarterback controversy since he's taken over full time. You had Justin Fields and you had C.J. Stroud. You didn't really have anyone questioning or targeting those 2 guys. You knew who was going to be the starter day one, and you knew who was going to go out there and lead the team, and both of them did it beautifully to the college football playoff. I guess the question for me is it the right idea to have both McCord and Allen play in game 1, or do you go with what Michigan did last year and have one quarterback play game 1, one quarterback play game 2, get them full reps, full adjustment time, full everything, and then make your decision? Because at least having talked to Todd about that was kind of his thought was, hey, both those guys, McCarthy and Cade, both played last year, and it gave them a chance to really see what they look like, because you can have them go live reps in practice or whatever, but to get real game reps is a real thing, and to get a full game's worth of reps with adjustments and everything is even better from a quarterback's perspective. So I'm a little curious as to kind of what they're looking at. My assumption is McCord has kind of pulled away enough to really solidify himself a little more. And if he just completely messes this up in this first game, that's the only way he's losing the job. But I could be wrong. I could be incredibly wrong. Obviously, Allen's a very talented, highly touted recruit. Him and Drew Aller were kind of neck and neck for a lot of their high school careers in terms of recruiting services. So curious. But again, I expect Ohio State to win this game. It's really, I just want to see what their form looks like week 1.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's going to be an interesting line to dance and everything to see, how they're going to, keep playing this out. Because he did say, as a starter for week 1, we'll see what happens and everything. But it will be interesting to see how it goes the first couple games, because you got Notre Dame week 4. And obviously that's no slouch. You're going up to South Bend. That hasn't happened in 30 years. So it's, huge game. So you got to get whoever your quarterback is, ready for that. I'll give my score prediction. I think Ohio State's going to win 45-13 over Indiana. Matt, what's your score prediction?
Buckeyes are going to win 49-6. 49-6.
Damn.
No touchdown up by the Silver Bullets.
All right. BIA. Best in America. There you go. Brady, what about you?
I'm going to go 42-10. That's been my prediction for a minute now. Maybe one touchdown given up by the Silver Bullets, but it's going to be early in the game. I think we give up a touchdown.
Okay. All right. Tighten things up on the back half. We'll go to another game that no shortage of quarterbacks in this one. Drake May, Spencer Rattler. What stands out to you about these 2 quarterbacks, Noah?
Yeah, Drake May, there's a good chance he'll be the second quarterback taken, second potentially player taken in the draft this year, and for good reason. Just looked so poised last year, claiming that starting job in Chapel Hill. And they came out of the gates. The numbers they put up, I think they averaged like 44 points per game their first 4 weeks. The problem is they cooled off substantially down the stretch. And it was the opposite for South Carolina and Spencer Rattler and company. Rattler, it was a fairly slow start there. And the numbers they put up, obviously the big one against Tennessee, but to beat Clemson that final week of the regular season and then to really compete pretty well in the Gator Bowl against Notre Dame, I really liked the development and maturity that we saw out of Spencer Rattler. He's going to make mistakes. And I think that's the difference between these 2 guys is Drake May is a little less mistake prone, a little less, I don't want to say – risk prone, but it feels like that's what Rattler is going to make his money on. And you've got to take the good with the bad with what Rattler can provide. He's obviously going to get a lot done with his legs. He's going to extend plays. He's going to put the ball in harm's way. But every now and then, 50-50 balls are going to come down with your receiver. They're also going to come down with the defender. And I think that's probably what separates these 2 teams when it's all said and done. North Carolina is probably a slight favorite. I haven't looked at what the line looks like, but I would assume just 2-3 points or so, something like that. And I'd say that's probably fair. I think this is going to be a really good game. I think both guys probably throw for over 300 yards, and it's going to be a good reminder of why we're excited to have college football back.
Most definitely. That line is UNC minus 2.5. I'm actually going to go with UNC winning by 34-31. I think it's going to be a classic game, between those two teams over in Charlotte. I'm excited to see, how that game turns out. Matt, give me your pick for this.
Oh, man, I think it's a coin flip for me for this game. I think it's going to be high scoring. I am going to go with South Carolina. I think the Cox, I really like the way Shane Beamer and those guys really started pushing that. They're just moving in the right direction last year. With the Tennessee game, the Clemson game, they've had some big wins. I just like the way they're moving. Spencer Rattler does have a tendency to turn it over, but he's also got that big arm too, the big live arm where he can really turn in. And he just flicks that thing, man. It's hard as when it comes out of his hands, man. I don't know. I just got a feeling South Carolina is going to win this game 40-34. I'm taking the Cox.
All right, there you go. A lot of high-scoring matchups there. Brady, give us your pick.
I'm taking South Carolina as well. I've been on them for a while now in this game, not like as a whole. I think Juice Bell is a very underrated receiver for them. He was explosive in all the big games last year, including Notre Dame, which they lost. But that being said, I think Spencer Rattler will have his best year. And now there's not too high of a bar for that for what's happened the other games of his or other seasons of his career. It's been a little bit disappointing to say the least, but he definitely has the live arm, like Matt said, and he is a veteran, and he should learn from some of the mistakes he's made. Like Noah was talking about the fact that he does put the ball in harm's way, which is definitely true. And he's definitely, he's the second best quarterback in this game. There's no doubt. However, I've got them winning. I'm going to take them 33-28.
All right. Going to be some tight games played in our predictions for North Carolina and South Carolina. And then the final game we're going to talk about, the big one, Sunday Night Football. Don't cue the music. Cue the music if you want to, Matt. It's not an NBC, but, go on ahead with that one. But man, you got number 5 LSU taking on number 8 Florida State. Such a big game. You got the quarterbacks Jaden Daniels and Jordan Travis. You got the head coaches and Brian Kelly and Mike Norvell. Two teams that overperformed last season. They, started off last season against each other in New Orleans, and LSU ends up, missing an extra point to tie the game and go to overtime. Just a top 10 matchup to start the season off. It doesn't get much better than it does, Noah.
Yeah, this is one of those, and we see this happen all the time. And, I don't want to say that Oregon Georgia game last year was like this, but in some ways it was, where Oregon gets pummeled in that game, and any thought or belief that they could eventually get to the college football playoff ends in week 1. And that's devastating for a season. Even, Notre Dame, Ohio State, in a way last year, week 1, it was a little bit closer. Ohio State kind of pulls away. Notre Dame has the letdown week 2 against Marshall. Their season's also done. So these are two teams that believe that they have the tools to be a college football playoff team, or at least very much in the discussion for it. These are two quarterbacks that are experienced veteran quarterbacks that believe they have all the tools and all the weapons around them to be Heisman candidates this year. And this game right off the bat is a prove-it game. And that's difficult. And it's difficult at any level, at a high school level, college level, or in the NFL. I think that if you have a game like this where there's so much on the line week 1, you haven't worked out enough kinks yet against live game action again, like we talked about before, that's really, really hard. And so to me, this is going to come down to, because I think these teams are pretty evenly matched, I think this comes down to who can handle that pressure more, who can handle what's at stake more. And that's what's going to be extra fun to watch. But what a way to kind of end the slate of college football week 1, and two teams that, like I said, they just got so much to play for.
Most definitely. Right out of the gate. SEC, ACC team. Going at it, trying to,
that's the other part, Chase. ACC wise, Clemson will be good, but it feels like this could be Florida State's year to seize not just the ACC, but represent them as well.
Yeah.
Given everything that's happening with conference realignment around the country, they need it. They need it bad.
Yeah. Oh, that is a great shot of that happening. And I think Unfortunately for Florida State in this game, I actually have LSU winning 31-28. But obviously, if Florida State's able to rebound and just win the rest of their games, they play Clemson early on in the season. But still, Florida State does have a really good shot this season. Like you said, the door is kind of open behind Clemson, but it really is anyone's game in the ACC. But I got LSU winning 31-28. Pass it over to Brady. What's going on with it?
Yeah, so I think the rosters are so close in terms of which one I like more. So it's a really tough pick, but I'm going between which quarterback I think is better at the end. I think that I would take Jaden Daniels over Jordan Travis, even though they're both good quarterbacks. I just loved what I saw from him against Alabama last year when it all came down, when it was all on the line. He put his foot in the ground. He was making people miss, and then he delivered some big-time throws. The game-tying touchdown, it was to take the lead by 3 and the regulation at the end. He threw that to Mason Taylor for the touchdown. And then – 2-point conversion to Mason Taylor, a freshman tight end, to win the game. I mean, it wasn't the toughest throw, but you still got to make the throw. I mean, if you miss that throw, game's over. So I just think he's so gritty, and I think he's a great player. And I think LSU wins this game by I forgot to score. It's going to be low scoring. It's going to be 21-17.
Okay. All right. Cool. Matt, what about you? What do you think?
I think LSU gets a revenge. I am going to take LSU 31-21 in this game. I just think, and I don't know, man. There's something. I'm not buying into all this Florida State hype yet. I'm just not yet. I'm not buying into it yet. I think they're going to be a good team, and the ACC, their schedule is very manageable. The ACC is not very good at all. So I mean, they're going to be able to. It would not shock me at all if they win 10 games again. At all, just because of how manageable their schedule is, and they have some talent. I'm just not sold yet. So I'm going to take LSU to get their revenge game here. I love the way Brian Kelly flipped the switch after losing to Florida State last year. I mean, winning the SEC West in year 1, which has been the best division over the past decade in college football, arguably. I mean, that's unbelievable. So the culture that Brian Kelly and they have built so far at LSU is really out of this world. And I think he's just going to continue to build this thing and move it in the right direction. So I'm going to take LSU.
All right. Man, we come to the end of the show. Noah, every time you come on the show, man, it's always, very entertaining and very insightful, man. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on the show and everything.
You got it, guys. It's fun. And everybody enjoy that week 1, man. We're finally here. We made it. You know what I mean? It's always one of those where it feel like that Paul Rudd on Hot Wings, it's like, who would have thought? Not me.
Not me.
You're in the middle of August. You're like, we're almost there, but I don't know if I can feel it. No, you can feel it now, so enjoy it, guys.
Yeah, you too. I mean, you're the one. You're going to be the man in the action Saturday night. I mean, come on now. That's going to be awesome.
Well, it'll be fun. Yeah. Appreciate you guys.
Most definitely, man. But yep, that for that being said, that's No Eagle Below. It's Brady King, Matt Ricketts. I'm Chase Johnson. We'll see you guys next time.